I'm replacing a door here today. I put this thing in 12 years ago, but here's the rule. Even if you put it in, when you've got to replace it, doors are basket cases. Everyone has its own problems, everyone requires its own solutions, including this one. So, I'm changing the handing from left hand inswing to right hand outswing. I put it in wrong before, and it just hit me that now is the time to fix it. Let's see if I can show you some of the problems and some of the solutions, and maybe it'll help you out of a bind on the project that you're ready to step into. But I don't really want to bruise this edge. I want it to go back, and I don't really want it to mar the door jamb. So I'm going to use shims. Drive in there, maybe start it with a chisel, baby it out just a little bit, and then drive in some shims to really force that out with hopefully minimal damage. Was creating some interference, and I'll bet this was creating a lot of interference. Same. I'm not sure why that one's only out 3/8. So this is the jamb for the fiberglass door I'm putting in to replace the steel door I took out. That switch, even though it's the same manufacturer, means that this door is about that much shorter than the other one. There's two things that'll bite you, even if you order a door of the right width. Well, there's more than just two. But the thresholds on an exterior door are all potentially different. And the up-down, I mean the distance that it's actually going to take to get in there, is also wildly variable. So you also pay attention to the jamb width, to the number of bores, that is whether you're putting a deadbolt and a lock set, the number of hinges. There's just a wide variety of things that you better know about before you pull the trigger and order a door that costs a lot of money. That's just a spacer. Okay, so two things. What kind of caulking do you like to use under a threshold? I usually use clear silicone. I mean, it works pretty good. It's what I had in here and I've peeled out because this is no joke. This is a place where water and bugs can penetrate the house. I was pleasantly surprised when I pulled this apart. 12 years, 0 water damage, a little dust. We don't care about dust. Don't be afraid to cut a good size opening on a caulking gun when you're putting in this, because it doesn't have to be a nice bead. All right, now before I bury this, and by the way, I'm putting a piece of masonite in here to make up some distance. I don't think that's the best, but I do think it's what we've got, and since 12 years later it's all dry, I'm not worrying about it. But here's a reason that I've kept this flooring, some pieces of this flooring now for 12 years. It's because I had to, man, it's not gonna come out. There we go. Because I had to make up a little distance. Because like I said, thresholds are variable. I'm hoping that's going to work. I think it is. We're going to put some silicone underneath and above. All right, so I have lots of silicone underneath that little spacer. Dry fit, dry fit, dry fit. If you can, make sure that you're not building yourself in, painting yourself into a corner. I'm going to take it out, I'm going to put a bunch of silicone under there, and then carefully put it in one more time. So now you don't have a Garrison's Building Supply in your town, I feel bad for you. But you've got some mom and pop left. They're still standing, they're hanging on because the box stores squish everybody out. But I'll tell you what, if you buy a custom door from the box store, you're setting yourself for a crushing disappointment. The material, the routing, the fit, the finish, the weather strip, the threshold, even if it appears to be made by the same company, I don't know the details about how corporations provide for the bulk wholesalers, but I don't think they're the same product. And I know that if you walk into a place that has somebody that specializes in doors and millwork, you have a better chance of coming home and being able to install something when you're already behind the game because you don't know the carpenter that put the old one in. Except in this case, I actually do. So in a lot of cases on a door replacement, you're trying to reduce the impact to the finished surfaces on the inside, right? I mean, you got to match paint, you got to match texture, and so you're hoping that the new one just fits right in. Well, this comes close, and I'm using these jam legs to control the reveal on the door. I'm pushing it clear over against the hinge side, the old one was too, so that the reveal right along here is going to be what drives this. Now it turns out this is plumb, like exactly plumb, so I can go with that. But since the door is shorter, once the door's in, I'm going to have to pull these jam legs off, shorten them, and then lower the head down to fit. I think we can survive that. I like it. So I'm nudging this left to right so that I can use the same trim pieces on the side. We're down to the same 5 1/4, 5 1/4 net, which means that those trim legs are going to work out just right. It's in against the floor rip, the flooring that I had to put a little filler in there, so I'm going to throw a couple in to hold it there. So typically, two things. You control the hinge side. You get the hinge side as plumb as you can. In this case, we're balancing plumb against this reveal on this plumb jam leg. That's really good. And then the second thing is, you're going to need to think about whether it's plumb in this direction, but usually, a newer construction, you bring it out to where the 6 9/16 inch wide jams are usually 4 9/16 or 6 9/16. That corresponds to a 3.5 inch stud wall or a 5.5 inch stud wall, right? 5.5, half inch, 6 9/16. You want it to be somewhere near flush with the substrate inside and outside. So you're flushing, you're plumbing, you're temporarily fastening. Now since you want your shims to still be adjustable when you're starting out, but you also want them not to just fall to the ground, you put them in there and you put nails underneath of them. So they can't get to the ground when you are working things back and forth. We're going to do the same thing over on this side. Top and bottom, and maybe a set in the middle. So ideally, shims work together like this, right? So that the sides of that shim pack remain parallel. I mean, if you shim like this, what you're doing is building a bind into your jam. So if you shim like that, you can bring the jam in and out, hopefully 90 degrees to the floor, to the threshold. Sometimes that doesn't work out. The other thing you got to be aware of is the end of that shim will get over into the back of that case maybe before you want it to. So we're going to run it in like this, not quite all the way over, and then we're just going to see if the world starts to get snug before we're out of room. And the answer is yes. See, I could drive that some more in order to bring this over, or I could pull that a little bit if I needed to, so you have full range of motion before you are sticking out into a condition where you don't have room to work. I'm going to throw one below it, and one over here below it. Good for now. Sometimes you can hide a nail, and in general you put as the smallest number of nails through the face of this that you can, because it just makes work for the painter. So sometimes you can hide a nail back in the corners of these mortises, because you know there's only going to be a screw in the middle. So you can come back in here, bam, and put a nail right there, and it's gone forever. All right, let's put the door in there and see what it looks like. So don't minimize the importance of keeping track of the signage. These people try to help you by keeping track of, on an outswing door, which side goes out, all of that. We're going to talk about handing on a door and that sort of thing in a minute. But in the meantime, the hinges are attached to the door. I took them off because I wasn't tough enough to carry everything over here. We're going to get it close and then shim up the outside of the door so I don't have to hold the whole world up. So at a moment like this, when you get all absorbed with your door bar, raising it up, and the new little gizmo, the little air pump, which I think I really like, you think, I got this handled, but you're counting on that shim pack up there sticking out to keep the door from going over backwards. So let's not get too confident just quite yet. All right, it all has got to go up. Let's see if we can do that. Yep, just like that. So this illustrates what I was talking about with Garrison's. Is this door perfectly pre-hung? Well, maybe not, but it's hung better than I would be able to differentiate between a perfectly pre-hung door and an adequately pre-hung door, and I think it's perfect. It's thick, it's strong, it's straight, and just leveling that hinge side in with a 4-foot level and matching the jamb legs on the inside, it's like really close. I'm going to nudge this out in here a little. Maybe kick it out right there just a little. You're trying for an even gap. The old timers would tell you wanted it about a dime wide on the hinge side and about a nickel wide on the strike side. That's because if you think about it, the leading edge of a square cut door is going to intercept that jamb before the back does, right? I mean, that corner swings close. But it's really good. I'm encouraged. Usually the camera doesn't have that effect. So a rough carpenter's rationalization of door reveal is that gravity is trying to rotate your door down all the time, especially a heavy door. Gravity's pulling it down and straining the hinges. So if you're a little narrow right there, you can forgive it, because gravity's going to widen that up for you probably. Now ideally, it'll be exactly the same, which means that I either need to rack that jamb up just a little bit, or let the door rotate, or shim this up, or call it good, because I know the owner. All right, I'm pretty close and I'm a little uncertain, but I'm going to run a screw in at the hinge to pull the door back, to close that, to open this, to relieve that little bump right there. And you can run the screw in with this removable weather strip like this. You can pull that back and get right at the screw. Gone. Let's see if it helped us. Hear that? No more bump. Nice even reveal. Pulled the top back. We're calling that a win. I'm going to put one of those at each of the hinge locations, a couple on the strike side, and fix the case. There's some plates in there that make things really strong, but I'm not at all sure I can hit the opening. Let's see if this hits. Pretty strong. Let's see if we can get another one down here. Pretty good. It's going to be a tough jam to kick in. And in the meantime, I think just for grins, I'm going to put one right in there. Pow! So last time I did this, when the door went in, the drywall was proud of the jam, just a little bit. So I used my power plane and gobbled off some of the part of the case that was going to be laying against the drywall, just so that it wasn't racking and twisting. And so as a result, it still lays in there nice and flat. And I think we're going to be able to bring that head down to where it goes and be pretty pleased, I think. So there's been some good comments about with these finish nailers, the pins have kind of a chisel tip, and the chisel tapers like this. So if you turn the gun like this, man, it goes right in. But if the grain deviates, a longer nail can fish hook out. You do it like this, yeah, it kind of tears a little bigger hole, but it tends to not be deflected by the grain. So pick your poison, right? I'm going to look for my old nail holes. There's one. That's a big old nail. So since I built this 12 years ago, I've become aware of, and maybe, the market share has increased with this peel and stick, rubbery, flexible, flashing membrane. It's really great. Blue skin, and there's various makes, waterproofs basement walls, but the big deal is it reduces the number of window failures and door opening failures where water gets in spite of everything you do. And yes, you're supposed to roll this stuff, and no, I don't have a roller here with me, so I'm just going to put the trim pieces over this, and it's going to be way better than it was 12 years ago, which, as it turns out, was actually pretty good. .46 7/16. Well, that's it. Overall, I'm going to count this as a win. We had a few challenges. We shared some of them with you. We've got them solved. I've got to get another board because changing the width on the whole world means I need an additional, I got to do that. Got to move these nails back with the hot dipped galvanized again. In fact, let me set that one in again. Put the hardware in it. All of that after my bride paints it. Gonna have to cut in a new jamb and cut in, yes. There's probably another half a day of fiddling around, and there is always at least a half a day more than you think there's gonna be anytime you need to repair, pull out, replace, match, fit, old, new doors. It doesn't matter. A door is a day's work, all day, every day, any way you slice it. Well, that's it. I'm married to a wonderful little painter. Not only does she garden, not only does she keep bees, not only does she raise her beautiful children and grandchildren, but she does my painting. Can you say hit the lottery? She's got one more coat to put on the inside of the door, but listen to this. Closes up nice, paint looks good. Caulking is marginal but acceptable, but the bottom line is this. The door is in. It operates. And if I didn't know it before, I know it now, that when you're drawing a set of plans, you darn sure better pay attention to the handing and the swing of your doors, and maybe get someone else to look at your floor plan just one more time before you pull the trigger and start construction. Because the handing of a door is a big deal. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.